Every year, more than 6 million tons of shellfish are transported alive from one side of the world to the other. Mussels, oysters, clams. They leave coastal farms in refrigerated containers, fly over continents in aircraft holds, and reach markets where their shells still pulse gently with life. But beneath this spectacle of freshness lies a contradiction. These animals don't die quietly. Even when harvested, shellfish remain biochemically active. They continue to filter water, regulate internal salinity, metabolize nutrients, and excrete waste. In essence, they keep reacting to the world, even when packed in silence. This is not just a question of freshness, it's a logistical and physiological puzzle. Transporting live shellfish is like trying to ship dozens of tiny aquatic laboratories, each with its own fluid dynamics. And yet, global seafood logistics often treat them like inert cargo. The irony is stark. We calibrate hydraulic fertirrigation systems to adjust nutrient dispersion with sub-millimeter precision, knowing that even a 2% drop in pressure can alter the chemical balance reaching plant roots. Meanwhile, in the world of live shellfish, a minor shift in CO2 concentration inside a sealed container, sometimes less than 0.1%, can trigger mass mortality in just hours. Compare this to naval engineering. In the open sea, ship stability depends on automated ballast systems, massive internal tanks that redistribute water weight in real time, counterbalancing cargo shifts and wave pressure. These systems pump and purge thousands of liters per voyage, ensuring equilibrium at every nautical mile. But in the transport of shellfish, which are themselves immersed in water, we still rely on static containers. No pumps, no rebalancing, no oxygen renewal cycles. The tank fills, the lid closes, and the journey begins, hoping that the water inside will somehow remain stable, alive, and clean. It doesn't. One of the most neglected metrics in shellfish transport isn't the container's insulation level, or even its temperature. It's oxygen diffusion, the rate at which fresh oxygen permeates each liter of water. That variable, more than the cold chain, often determines whether mussels arrive breathing or suffocating, because while temperature slows metabolism, it doesn't stop it. Shellfish still consume oxygen, still release ammonia, still interact with the fluid that surrounds them, and slowly, imperceptibly, degrade it. So the question is no longer just logistical, it's conceptual. If naval engineers rebalance water mass every few kilometers to keep ships stable, why are we transporting millions of living organisms in sealed tanks of static water? Why are these dynamic creatures, osmotic processors, filter feeders, living systems, being treated like ice? Every shipment is a biological countdown. Every liter of brine is a moving target. Every shell in transit is a patient without a monitor. And this is just the beginning. Because what happens next, once they leave the sea and enter the sky, is an even greater test of biology, engineering, and precision. Shellfish aren't just sensitive to water quality, they're profoundly reactive to motion. In the pressurized belly of a cargo aircraft, thousands of live bivalves travel in complete darkness, surrounded by ice packs and sealed brine. But beneath that stillness, every second in the air is a physiological disturbance. Micro-vibrations caused by turbulence, engine resonance, and mechanical oscillations are transmitted directly through the container structure into the shells and into the delicate muscle systems that control their valves. Unlike fish, which can stabilize themselves through movement, bivalves respond by closing, shutting down water exchange, reducing oxygen intake, and entering a stress state that, if prolonged, becomes fatal. What makes this challenge invisible is that the parameters seem controlled. Temperature is regulated, humidity is stable, but the shellfish aren't dying from heat or dehydration. They're dying from resonance. Laboratory measurements show that a continuous vibration of just 0.3 G, a barely perceptible tremor, causes up to 27% more intracellular water loss in mussels compared to specimens transported in vibration-dampened conditions. Their bodies sense motion, interpret it as environmental threat, and respond by shutting down metabolically, exactly when they need oxygen the most. The solution did not come from aquaculture, it came from soft robotics. Engineers working on drone-based medical transport systems developed microgel suspension beds, flexible matrices that reduce the transmission of mechanical signals to sensitive payloads. The same principle, when applied to shellfish, led to the creation of specialized harnesses that cradle bivalves individually, isolating them from the vibrations of the aircraft hold. These structures don't merely cushion, they absorb motion through passive deformation, lowering stress transmission by up to 60%. One Japanese exporter, dealing in premium oysters bound for luxury markets in Singapore, adopted this system after years of unexplained losses. The change was immediate. Valve activity during transport increased. Arrival vitality jumped by 40%. What had been dismissed as random spoilage was, in reality, a mechanical incompatibility, the wrong design for a live system. The harnesses, adapted from cold-chain pharmaceutical logistics, gave shellfish not just insulation, but equilibrium. This redefines the packing process, because it's not about mass anymore, not about weight limits or volume optimization. It's about mapping movement, tracing the vibrational profile of each route, and designing containers not for how much they can carry, but for how little motion they transmit. It's the difference between loading boxes and hosting biology, between shipping cargo and preserving life. And in the sky, where the ground never stops trembling, that difference is everything. Inside a sealed transport tank, water becomes more than just a medium. It becomes the entire world. For a live mussel, that world must stay chemically stable, continuously oxygenated, and osmotically balanced. But when the system is closed, the environment begins to shift the moment the lid is sealed. Minute by minute, excreted nitrogenous waste alters the chemical profile. pH drifts. Ammonia builds. Even in recirculated systems, where pumps are active and filters are running, degradation starts within 4 hours. And with each passing hour, the water becomes less a habitat, and more a hostile fluid. Traditional closed-loop systems are designed for energy efficiency and space control, but they miss a crucial point. Shellfish are osmoregulators. Their cellular balance depends on the salinity, not as a fixed number, but as a dynamic threshold that adjusts with metabolic rates, stress levels, and environmental pressure. In fixed salinity systems, the internal chemistry of the animal must adapt, often at high physiological cost. In adaptive systems, the water adapts to the animal. That shift began with the introduction of onboard salinity correctors. Equipped with ion-selective electrodes, these systems monitor sodium, potassium, and chloride concentrations in real time, recalibrating the brine every 30 minutes to match ideal osmotic conditions. The effect is subtle, invisible, but profound. The water is no longer static. It breathes with the animal, responds to its stress, follows its need. The results speak in biomarkers. Clams transported in dynamic salinity chambers showed 12% lower oxidative stress levels post-shipment than those held in fixed ideal saline water. In other words, a system that mimics fluctuation is more biologically compatible than one that imposes perfection. The metric isn't stability, it's responsiveness. In Chile, a major mussel exporter adapted a system originally developed for transporting tropical reef fish, species that require constant salinity adjustments to survive tank transfers. When applied to bivalves, survival rates increased by 19.3%, and incidence of mortality on arrival dropped sharply. The same logic applies. If the animal is sensitive to shifts, the water must shift with it. It's no longer a tank, it's a micro-ecosystem in motion. Salinity, like nutrients in fertigation, is not a fixed input. It's a controlled variable that must be modulated with rhythm, not locked into stasis. Just as advanced drip systems adjust pH levels to match the absorption curve of plant roots, so too should marine logistics adjust salinity to the physiological curve of the organism. Every liter of brine is a negotiation, a chemistry that must listen and respond, because in a sealed tank, there is no escape, only adaptation or death. Before we get to the final stretch of this operation, take a second to check the pinned comment. If you're fascinated by how precision and biology meet in modern logistics, there's something there crafted with the same attention to detail and built for those who appreciate systems that work as intelligently as they move. In precision agriculture, fertirrigation systems use real-time sensors to adjust nutrient flows down to the milliliter. The logic is simple. Crops respond to their environment second by second, and the delivery system must keep pace. This same principle is now quietly transforming the way shellfish are moved across oceans and borders. Because bivalves, like roots, don't just need water. They need stability, modulation, and constant feedback. Shellfish logistics, for decades, have lagged behind in this evolution. Containers focused on temperature control, but ignored salinity drift. Packaging considered volume, but not vibration. But new technologies are bridging this gap. Continuous monitoring systems now track pH, CO2 saturation, and ionic composition in real time, turning passive tanks into active aquatic habitats. The container becomes a node in a larger system, responding like a drip line, adjusting like a greenhouse. It's no longer just transport, it's aquatic cultivation in motion. At the edge of this transformation is aviation. Emirates Sky Cargo's biocargo program, for instance, adjusts hold pressure, light exposure, and oxygen saturation specifically for marine invertebrates. This isn't luxury, it's logistics recognizing biology. The aircraft becomes not just a vehicle, but an extension of the ocean, a moving habitat calibrated to life support parameters. But the deeper shift is conceptual. Shellfish are not freight. They are mobile, osmotic processors, living filters whose physiology cannot be paused. Their bodies react to pressure, salinity, movement, and chemistry with the same precision a plant responds to light and moisture. To move them successfully is to understand them not as passive loads, but as living systems in need of care, feedback, and precision. In the field, irrigation systems vary, flow every 15 seconds to match plant demands. That rhythm, that attention to life, is what must now guide seafood logistics. The same intelligence applied to soil must now be extended to water, because in every shipment of live mussels, every crate of clams, every sack of oysters in a refrigerated hold, there is not just food in motion, there is biology in negotiation. And behind that negotiation, there is engineering, there is logistics. There is a quiet, continuous orchestration, invisible but vital. The shellfish arrive fresh not by chance, but by design, by systems that think, respond, and sustain, by precision borrowed from the field, applied now to the sea. This is no longer just supply chain, it is the emergence of digital oceans, and it's only just begun. And while these systems quietly sustain life in transit, another kind of movement is happening just below this video. There's something in the pinned comment that might surprise you. Not in scale, but in opportunity. If you've made it this far, it's worth a glance. Just scroll down and take a look.